Should the government be telling young people to have more kids? Is that their job? We're taking your calls on this now. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need to give us a ring. Now, Bridget Phillipson has said she's concerned by Britain's falling birth rate. And she has said she hopes that Labour's policy of providing new nursery places will encourage more people to start families. Now, I should tell you, the fertility rate in England and Wales is just 1.44 children per woman. Now, that's the lowest it's been since 1938. Now, Phillipson holds a role as both Education Secretary and the Minister of Women and Equalities. But is it ever the government's position, the government's place, to tell young kids, young people, how many kids they should have, or if they should be starting families? Mike, is this an overreach?
Of course it's overreach. Once again, the government's sticking their nose into people's personal lives. Keep your nose out. Bridget Phillipson's got a cheek. First of all, she's a member of a government which is slowly bankrupting this country. So it becomes more and more expensive all the time to actually have children and bring them up. But secondly, one of the most spiteful and pernicious policies so far has been undertaken by the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, closing down schools. And I mean, if she's closing down...
Can you explain that? What schools is she...
Private schools who cannot exist with the 20% tax that's been put on them have had to close down.
This is another myth.
It's not a myth at all. Schools have closed down. England is the only country in the world that taxes education. Bridget Phillipson put that on. Schools are closing down. No, we're talking about the quality of life for children. Quality of life for children.
This doesn't work if everyone's talking at the same time. That we should clarify that when you say taxing education, that is applying VAT, value-added tax, to private education.
That is taxing education.
Yeah, but a lot of education, Mike, and the majority of the education is
but
not
still taxing
private
education. It's taxing education. Those parents are already paying for state schools.
It's taxing some education. We just need to be clear that it's not all education, it's private education. But go ahead. You were saying that you think that this government are making it harder for children?
No, harder and harder for people to actually have families because of the cost of living is going to soar under the ridiculous fiscal policies of this government.
Okay, Narinder?
So look, as a matchmaker, I come from an Indian culture, as you can see. Now, I would say that actually the government should get involved, and I'll tell you why. Because we've spent a whole generation telling women, and look, I'm going to get so much backlash for this, career. And as a matchmaker, they call me at 38, 39 years old, suddenly desperate. They've got this great career, but guess what? Can't have babies. No man wants them because actually, are you fertile? We need to start changing the narrative that being a mum and getting pregnant is a great thing to do. And I do not buy for 1 second, it's too expensive to have children. You can never have that reason because children don't just come from trees. I just think that women need to be encouraged to have babies.
Okay.
Because otherwise, then you can have your argument, actually, we're getting babies from migrants.
And how would you encourage them? How would you encourage them to have children?
Change the narrative from not this whole career thing, actually being a mum.
And then you'd hand out benefits, would you?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Because I've got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we're going to be taking your calls on this. Should the government tell young people to have more kids? 0207 862. The Women and Equalities Minister saying she wants more young people to have kids. Is it her place to say that? Should the government be telling us when to start families or to start families? Do you agree with her? Get your calls in now on 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. Chris is in Lanarkshire and he's ready to speak to us now. Chris, welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
Good morning and thanks for having me on. So basically, I can't hear you at the moment, but
we can hear you.
Oh, good. I do believe that the government needs to encourage this.
Yeah.
We are in a declining population society.
Yeah.
The Western civilization is in decline. But our birth rates are too low.
Yeah.
But why? We need to know why this is. Why has this happened? That's more important.
Why do you think it's happened, Chris?
Well, started about 50 years ago with the sort of the bringing in of the feminist movement of telling women to wait to have kids till they're 35. Generally, that's what's happening. And because of that, they're generally only having 1, maybe 2 children by that age. So we are now, because of that fact, we are in a declining population.
Do you not think that cost has something to do with it? I know Narinder said, look, that should never come into play, but the truth is,
It does.
when you look at the costs involved, when you look at couples who are in their 20s or early 30s who are still not able to get themselves a house or are spending so much money on rent that the last thing they think that they can afford is a child. In the UK, we have some of the highest costs of childcare all across Europe. We're talking about 19% of a couple's income will go onto childcare if they have 2 children. And some people look at that.
100% agree.
And some people look at that and say, no. In Estonia, for example, childcare is very, very low cost. Same in Germany, same all across Europe. Childcare, even though the government today are announcing lots of nursery places, it's still too expensive. Isn't that really at the heart of it?
The cost has always been part of raising children. But what has been the main issue of getting children, we are in a declining population. That is the key. The more people we have in the population, the more money we have per people. More earnings we have. So it rectifies itself by having.
You can't put a price on it. It's a baby. You can't say, well, when me and my husband started having kids, I agree with Chris. We didn't think, well, actually, if we'd actually thought of the cost, we would never have got pregnant. So it's a baby at the end of the day. You can't put a price on that. And we need babies. We need children.
But I think there's something else as well. In a 50-year working career, when I started 21, 22, lots of young girls only wanted to get married in their early 20s and have a family. But I've noticed over the 5 decades, women now get to, and do you know what happens? And I've seen this happen to the daughters of friends of mine. A woman gets to 33 or 34, then thinks, I've made my career, now I'm going to think about a family, but then finds there's no available men.
Correct. As a matchmaker, that's exactly what's happening. They're phoning me and suddenly they want a baby at 38.
Yeah.
Too late.
Chris, thanks for kicking us off. Emily's in Essex. Emily, welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
Hello, everybody. Last week I called in because there was a call up on women, it costs too much to bring up a baby. So unless you have money, you couldn't bring up a baby, which I was fuming about because I didn't have money when I fell pregnant. Sorry. It's just got me all confused, really. It's a catch-22. So they're saying you can't bring up a baby without having money, but we want you all to have babies, but we've got to do it when you're young, when you haven't made your career or have any money. And Mike, not everyone relies on the welfare state. They have partners to look after them, and they do find them, okay? I was actually one of the ones who went on the welfare state, so I am one of the ones you're talking about, but I didn't mean to. I actually worked a lot, and in the end, a successful woman for this country and brings in a lot of money for herself and for the tax. And I'm so proud of her. And I had nothing. Okay, so it can be done. I'm shaking a little bit now.
Emily, I understand how emotional you feel about this and how much it means to you. But do you accept that for some people who are in their mid-20s to mid-30s, they are looking at their current situation of how much they earn, where they can afford to live, and they're thinking that they couldn't take that extra cost of having a child on?
I do actually agree with that because my daughter's one of them people.
Right.
So she won't be bringing a child into this life, but she will be putting lots of tax into the money.
And what are the reasons that she's not having a child at the moment, if you don't mind my asking?
Because she's brought up into this social world of buying everything on Amazon and then paying lots of tax, and that's good enough for her. It gives her a good life. She's not going to put herself what I went through, maybe, you know.
I think Emily,
it sounds sad,
my
but it's not.
Well, your daughter's the same.
Yeah, my daughter's 17, going under 18, and she wants this big career as a lawyer. And she's like, actually, I'm put off by having babies. I said, why? She was like, what's going on in society? It wasn't about money. She just felt fearful for the future.
Okay.
No, I think that's a very good point.
Emily, thank you. Just a little stat here. 1973, there was just under 22 people of retirement age for every 100 people in work, right? We are now at 30 and a half people of retirement age for every 100 people in work. And it's forecast by 45 to go to 35 people of retirement age for 100. So we've almost doubled the amount of people in retirement for every 100 people who are working. Of course, those people who are working are generating the taxes to look after the elder people and to pay into the welfare state, which, let's remind ourselves, I know we've been talking about benefits payments, but the largest chunk of the welfare budget goes to pensions.
Yes.
55%
Correct.
is for looking after the people who've already paid into that big pot of money. Let's speak to Francis, who's in Berkshire. Francis, welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
What I would like to say is, the government are urging young people to have more children. Why is it then that the government are paying out for the children to have free school meals twice a day, and yet you're asking parents, young people, to have more children they probably can't afford?
Sorry, are you saying why are they paying for those school meals?
What I'm saying is there's a lot of young parents out there that can't afford
to
feed their children for breakfast or dinner.
Oh, I see. That it's bad enough already. Why are they asking people to have more children?
It's a very good point, Francis, and you're absolutely right. And I put this question to Narinder just a few minutes ago. More children means inevitably the government will be paying more benefits to bring those children up.
Tax the wealthy.
No, you shouldn't tax the wealthy. You should let people stand on their own 2 feet. If they want children, good, but they can't expect the government to then fund their breakfast club, their lunch.
We've got a declining birth rate. We need babies, and then you complain that
it's not the way to do it. To allow the government
to be. This is a cultural thing.
The government cannot be the country's parent.
All right, I'm going to squeeze in another call. Francis, thank you. Elizabeth is in Worcestershire. Elizabeth, welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
Thank you very much. Not much to say literally. Essentially, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, essentially, I would just like to address passionately, equaling the elderly gents we have there, from my end here, that the government is not asking or forcing young people to have children. The government is an educational institution under which statistically has seen a shrinking population, with most people who are baby boomers around the panel ageless male. And then there's all these things which are excellent. Women going into more work like doctoring, medical for that matter, and other professions. Yes, in 1975, IVF was invented, which is wonderful. There are so many things which are still being done. But we naturally here, the common sense which I keep hearing should be common in the studio right now.
Okay.
Common sense of education is educating the public.
Okay, Elizabeth, I'm going to leave it there for educating the public. I think it's a great moment to leave it there. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm sorry we ran out of time. Thank you.